If you're a fan of Lian Li's O11 Vision lineup of panoramic PC cases that allow you to showcase the components of your PC build, but found these cases a little too big for your liking, then you're in luck, as Lian Li's just launched the new O11 VISION-M, a micro ATX PC case that features a panoramic 3-sided tempered glass aesthetic. Let's take a closer look at this case to see if it's any good. Packaging wise, the O11 VISION-M comes in a pretty ordinary brown cardboard box with your usual product illustrations and descriptions on all sides. Accompanying the O11 VISION-M is a single box of accessories as well as an instruction manual. Within the box of accessories, we get a thank you note like so. And this is accompanied by a whole bunch of screws, rubber grommets for storage drive mounting purposes, cable ties, as well as spare friction clips for the various panels of the case. With that, here it is, the O11 VISION-M. Available in black or white, the case features a dual chamber layout where your power supply unit and storage drives are to be installed in a chamber behind the motherboard tray alongside your AIO radiator as well. The O11 VISION-M sports Lian Li's characteristic O11 aesthetic with 3 sides worth of tempered glass panels. With the VISION-M, Lian Li's put some added thought into improving airflow, which is usually sacrificed at the expense of having the top panel being made entirely of tempered glass. Here, we get a ventilation cutout for the top glass panel, which is designed to channel hot air away from your top-mounted AIO radiator, meaning to say that we should get some decent thermal performance out of the O11 VISION-M. We'll find out soon enough when I do a demo build with this case. Moving on, the right side panel has nearly a full panel's worth of ventilation openings, which is unsurprising given the dual chamber layout of this case. The front panel connectors of the case are located beneath the right lower edge of the front tempered glass panel. We get a power button, a 3.5mm headphone and microphone combo jack, a USB 10Gbps Type-C port, as well as 2 USB 5Gbps Type-A ports. Do note that the case does not come with a hard disk activity indicator light. On the bottom of the O11 VISION-M, we get ventilation openings for bottom-mounted case fans, where Lian Li's also included a removable dust filter. We do also get 4 plastic feet with rubber inserts. For the rear of the case, we get your usual ventilation openings, and it's great to see that the expansion slot covers are of the reusable variety. With that, let's get the panels of the O11 VISION-M. Lian Li's gone with a toolless design for the panels of this case with the exception of the front panel. You first have to remove the top tempered glass panel by undoing 2 thumb screws and getting the panel off like so. The side tempered glass panel is held in place by a single thumb screw that has to be undone before you can pry the said panel off. And finally, the panel on the other side can be pried off easily like so. Now, removing the front tempered glass panel of the case requires a little more effort, where it's held in place by a screw over here, as well as 3 screws that are accessible from the side chamber of the case. Once these screws are undone, the front panel comes right off from the chassis. On a side note, if you're new to the ALK Tech channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest releases in the PC hardware world. With that, onto the interior, starting first with cooling features. Given the layout of this case, you could say that the O11 VISION-M is designed with 360mm AIO radiator use in mind, where the top panel supports either a 240mm or 360mm AIO radiator. We also get a removable divider panel that's held in place by 2 screws, where it can be used to obscure your AIO radiator from view should you wish to achieve a cleaner aesthetic. Otherwise, with the divider panel out of the way, you can view the RGB lighting effects of your AIO radiator's fans, and Lian Li's even given end users the option to 3D print parts that can be used to fill the space between the AIO fans and the motherboard tray like in the photos on the screen. Moving on, Lian Li's also included a pre-installed 140mm AIO assist fan to help provide additional airflow to the AIO radiator, where the specs of the fan are as shown on the screen. further enhance airflow to the AIO radiator's cooling fans, you can also mount two more 120mm case fans to the left of the pre-installed 140mm AIO assist fan. Do note that this area for the two 120mm case fans can also be used to mount up to three 2.5-inch SSDs or two 2.5-inch SSDs and one 3.5-inch hard disk in place of the two said case fans. Over on the side panel of the case, we get space for two 120mm intake fans, while on the bottom panel of the case, we get space for up to three 120mm intake fans. Finally, on the rear panel of the case, we get support for up to two 120mm case fans. In terms of physical dimensions, the O11 VISION-M has the dimensions as stated on the screen. For folks intending to use an air cooler for their processor, do note that the case supports CPU coolers of heights no more than 162mm according to the spec sheet for the O11 VISION-M. For your graphics card, the case comes with support for graphics cards with lengths of up to 410mm. We've got a GPU support bracket that comes pre-installed within the case, where it can be adjusted for height by loosening this thumb screw that's accessible from the second chamber. The part that comes into contact with the graphics card can be swiveled in place by loosening a Phillips head screw so that you can make adjustments to prevent it from coming into contact with your graphics card's cooling fan when necessary. Moving on to the motherboard tray, the O11 VISION-M comes with support for micro ATX and mini ITX motherboards, where back connector motherboards are unfortunately not supported. In terms of PSU support, Lian Li indicates that the O11 VISION-M has 182mm of depth clearance for a power supply unit, which is mounted in the side chamber of the PC case. One other thing to mention, Lian Li does make a variant of the O11 VISION-M called the O11 VISION-M Digital, where we get a 9.2-inch LCD screen built into the divider cover like so. You can also purchase this screen separately and install it on the O11 VISION-M non-digital. For those of you intending to install 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch storage drives for your PC build with the O11 VISION-M, as mentioned earlier, the mounting bracket for the pre-installed 140mm AIO assist fan supports either up to three 2.5-inch SSDs or two 2.5-inch SSDs and one 3.5-inch hard disk. Naturally, you won't be able to install additional 120mm AIO assist fans should you choose to install storage drives on this very mounting bracket. The front panel connectors of the case are pretty standard, where first up, we get a front panel USB 5Gbps Type A connector, and this is accompanied by a USB 10Gbps Type C connector, a front panel audio connector like so, as well as a 9-pin front panel connector for the power button. I do appreciate the fact that Lian Li's used a 9-pin connector rather than a standalone connector, which can be more fiddly to hook up to the respective header pins on your motherboard. Moving on, we've also got a 4-pin PWM fan header right here for the pre-installed 140mm AIO assist fan. With that, let's do a demo build with the O11 VISION-M. Getting a micro ATX motherboard, a MSI B850M Morta Wi-Fi into the case was pretty easy. The motherboard standoffs are already pre-installed on the motherboard tray, and as can be seen, we get sufficient space for maneuvering things around. Installing the power supply unit was relatively straightforward, where you'll have to install this mounting bracket onto the PSU. Thereafter, secure both the PSU and bracket into place. For this demo build, I'll be using a Seasonic PSU that measures in at a depth of just 140mm, where it fits really easily into the O11 VISION-M. CPU cooling wise, I'll be using a Lian Li HydroShift 2 LCDS 360CL 360mm AIO CPU cooler, where unfortunately, getting the AIO radiator into place was trickier than expected. We've got a removable mounting bracket that needs to come off first for you to be able to mount the AIO radiator. And for the HydroShift 2 lineup of AIO CPU coolers in particular, Lian Li advises owners to remove all the pre-installed tube routing clips of the AIO radiator as well as the side plate so that you can properly route the AIO tubes to where they need to go. And this leads me on to the main challenge that I had, that was to get the AIO tubes to where they needed to go, which involved quite a fair bit of tube bending, trial and error, as well as elbow grease. Due to space constraints, I actually had to remove this aesthetic cover from the HydroShift 2's radiator as well. Otherwise, I wasn't able to get the AIO radiator to be seated in place properly. Now, you'll also want to install the pump block first, before sorting out the tube management in the secondary chamber of the case. Although the manual indicates that the two AIO tube clamps of the O11 VISION-M would be able to help guide the tubes to where they need to go, in reality, I was only able to use one of the two clamps, seeing as the HydroShift 2's tubes were not long enough in my installation scenario. In any case, I did manage to install the HydroShift 2 after a fair bit of fiddling. Hopefully this section will be useful for you folks intending to get a HydroShift 2 AIO CPU cooler to be used with the O11 VISION-M. While we're still on the topic of cooling, I've decided to install Lian Li's Unifan CL wireless 120mm case fans for the demo build. We've got 2 normal blades on the rear on exhaust duty, 3 reverse blades on the bottom panel for intake duty, and 2 reverse blades on the side panel for intake duty as well. Getting these fans installed was pretty straightforward. We've got plenty of cable routing openings for the cables of the fans to get to where they need to go. I've also installed a third-party ARGB and fan hub to make it easier for me to manage the power needs for this many fans. The graphics card for this demo builds a MSI GeForce RTX 5060 Ti 16G Gaming Trail OC, where it measures in at 300mm by 125mm by 44mm and fits very easily into the case. Moving things along, and with the demo build nearly completed, it's a good time to talk about cable management. The O11 VISION-M comes with cable management openings in all the right places to make cable management pretty easy, and over in the side chamber, I appreciate the inclusion of strategically placed Velcro straps to help guide cables along to where they need to go. While I didn't put too much effort into cable management for this demo build, I think that the demo build still looks pretty tidy all things considered. And with that, here's a completed demo build with the Lian Li O11 VISION-M. In terms of thermal performance, I did a quick performance benchmark with the O11 VISION-M's demo build, where you can see the specs of the said build on the screen. With F123's in-game benchmark, where I ran a 5-lap test for around 9 minutes in total, the Ryzen 9 9900X processor in the demo build achieved an average CPU temperature of around 54.9 degrees Celsius, while the RTX 5060 Ti 16G Gaming Trio OC achieved an average GPU temperature of 64.5 degrees Celsius and an average GPU memory junction temperature of 61.6 degrees Celsius. These results were achieved in an air-conditioned room with a temperature of around 28 degrees Celsius. A very decent set of results, I must say, making this a case that has a 3-sided tempered glass aesthetic without the typical pitfall of impaired thermal performance. The idle temperatures and estimated noise levels with the demo build are as per what you can see on the screen, and for the thermal tests, I left the fan curves on their stock settings without any tweaks. Naturally, your thermal performance with this case will vary, especially if you're using different hardware from the demo build in this video. To sum up, the Lian Li O11 VISION-M's almost certainly going to be a hit, especially amongst fans of the brand who have been hoping for a smaller and updated variant of the O11 Vision Compact. The case looks great and is well built, and thermal performance is pretty good too, finally making this one of the few panoramic cases with actually good thermals. That said, building a PC with this case was a little trickier than expected though, given the effort that I had to put in so as to get the Lian Li HydroShift 2 AIO CPU cooler to fit properly in the case, something that I thought I mentioned for the record. In terms of pricing, the O11 VISION-M in black, like the one that I have here in this video, will go on sale with a MSRP of $69.99 US, while the white variant will be available to purchase for a price of $74.99 US. These are pretty attractive prices, I must say. The O11 VISION-M Digital, that is, the variant that comes with a built-in 9.2-inch LCD display screen on the divider panel, is available for a price of $129.99 US for both the black and white variants. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.